Cool. It works.
Perfect.
Hello. So we did our workshop on storytelling, no surprise, with digital media, also no surprise, I guess. And for our workshop, we wanted to use online media only. So I think nobody went into the museum to take pictures of objects and stuff. We are just using material that is already online. So an average user, an average person at home can make this. An average person that doesn't know about copyright restrictions can make everything that we have made. So we actually started without Wi-Fi. That wasn't our plan, but so it happened. And so we could do a bit of talking first until the Wi-Fi was fixed about what we actually wanted to do. And we started really from thinking about what kind of story we want to tell. So I showed a couple of examples of technologies, but I will show you in a second as well. But those were more for inspiration, and while I was talking to the tech support, my group talked about what I wanted to make, and when I came back they had a pretty clear idea already. I was quite happy with that, and we could work on that. So some of the things, let's see if this works. Oh yeah, ignore everything else on my screen. This is... So this is one example that I quite like. It's very simple. It's the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. And they are working with these, they have produced a couple of very short stories about Van Gogh. And now almost everybody knows Van Gogh, and we know kind of his grand narrative and how he cut off his ear and stuff, but we don't know a lot of details. So what they've done, they have produced a whole number of short scrolling stories, such as this one. It's Dutch, but this is the end of a difficult life path, and you, as a user, you scroll down and you get new information and so on, and you can see the content that accompanies that, so a couple of paintings and so on. And I think this is, when you want to see the whole thing and read the whole thing, it takes you about 2-3 minutes, but it gives you some additional information about his life. It gives you some more artworks to look at, so if you want to see it in big, you can actually, if the internet works. Yeah, there we go. So you can look at some paintings, you can zoom in, and you can learn in very quick bites, you can learn a little bit more about his life. So that was an idea, and the other idea I had was to work with a timeline, and I won't show you the example because we actually did that, so you can see how it works in action. And now we go back. So we came up with the story. We were actually wondering why his works are here. What's the connection between Schloss Meuland and this man? He hasn't lived here. These collectors haven't really lived here. So we wanted to show the story of how the collection of Joseph Beuys ended up in Schloss Meuland. And we found basically 3 actors in this story, which is the Schloss itself, Mr. Beuys himself, and the brothers with the last name Grinten. Yeah, those guys. So we told those 3 stories, and in the final production we hope to show you how they both lived separate lives, but at some point they touch.
Yeah, we can talk about the current situation.
Yeah, because I don't know about this.
So, yeah. Yeah. Just to give you an example, I would like to guide you to our first thoughts, because we actually went into the museum and had a look what kind of information you could find on the history of the castle itself, of Schloss Meuland as an institution, about the brothers van der Green and their relationship to Beuys, to the collection, and so on and so on. And one thing I guess you've all seen is one of the first rooms, where you do have this timeline where everything is just like a quick run through to the history and to the different steps that are important for the 3 stories that we decided to work upon. So you've got that. You can just sit down, read up a bit, and starting from the 13th century, you can actually see like the castle was built there. It's like the first documented situation. Also, you do have these texts, and yeah, we actually decided upon seeing that to not use the same information twice. So we didn't really wanted to incorporate the information that was already in the museum, because we thought, well, that'd be kind of boring, because you can actually better come and just have a look at it in the castle itself than to read up on it online. And what we did was to do kind of an online thing. So you have different information online than you would have while visiting the castle. That was important to us. Yeah. And like you've already heard, it was important to us to have 3 different narratives. So how could you tell them? And I think we found some interesting approaches to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will show the first one about the Schloss. And as said, we didn't want to show the entire history because it's a lot. And so we focused on, this keeps popping up. So we focused on how has this building been used throughout the years. So I think that's this one. And we used an online open source tool for that, which is quite easy to use. You just fill in a spreadsheet with information, and then you can load it into this tool, and it creates you these beautiful timelines. So I won't go through every point, but it gives you an idea. So this is the history of the castle from the beginning, and really it's about how it was used. So here it was used as, what's it called, a brothel or a love nest or something?
It was a love nest.
So to make that clear, it was pink. We embedded some videos in there as well, and so and it's really only about how is the castle being used throughout the years. And here are some people we know. So that's the first one. That's the story of the Schloss until now, and how it also changed its display. Is there anything you want to add about this one?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Just that, because we also saw that you actually do have quite a bit of social media, for example, a YouTube channel, but we couldn't really find anything about the YouTube channel on your website, which we found wasn't very optimal, and we decided that you could just...
should I put it back up again?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Well, I have to look for it now. Yeah, anyways.
Where do you want to go? You can just use the arrows.
Okay. Because in a timeline like that, you do have the options of embedding certain hyperlinks or video data. It would be really nice if you could do something like that for your video channel, because you do have quite a lot of videos up, and it's a shame that you can't access them that easily. Or you can also just like link back to other things that you did, which we thought was quite nice. You do have a timeline of the history on your website. It's a PDF file that you could download. And so we also try to focus on the fact that this was all available online without having to download it, which is a good thing, I think, for people that don't want to do that and just have a quick glance. Yeah, that was that.
Okay. Cool. And we're gonna go back. Yes, so the second part is how the art collection made its way to Schloss Meulen, so that focuses more on the Van Grinten brothers or something. And for this story, we didn't choose the timeliner, but we chose the one of the scrolling websites. It was a little bit too much work to make it work within 3 hours because you need to do some HTML coding and stuff, or do it in Illustrator. So we faked it, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, we kind of researched and put our story together, Sonja and me, and did this mock-up of this page flow basically. So we start with the Van Grinten's house where they grew up, where they went to school, where also boys went to school. We talk about the artist who suggested them to buy or invest in contemporary art. And we come to the point where they buy their first graphic or the first print of Joseph Beuys, as we were told in the archive. And also we have a quote that Van Grinten gave that Joseph Beuys should have said, that he'll make a deal with them if you like. Don't buy individual pieces. I make you a portfolio for a lump sum. So this is how the Van Grinten brothers, as we heard on Monday as well, got their first portfolio of Beuys works. We can read in this story the letter Beuys sent them. You could also translate this into English, the whole thing. And then we come to the first exhibitions the Van Grinten brothers do with Beuys, so we could include newspaper articles from our Joseph Beuys archive as well there, zoom in, and we can show exhibition views of those first exhibitions, and a quite interactive thing then here, or the multimedia thing. You could read the old exhibition catalog. We have all them in the archive. So then we come to the point where the Van Grinten's brothers donate their private collection to the museum. We found also this picture in the archive. So it's parts what was in the timeline up there, but we could make this accessible and the user could go through, or the visitor could go through the museum and look up the timeline later, or look it up at home. And we have kind of the collection history now given over to Moyland. And the Moyland hanging we heard about, then we have a relation to the Beuys work with the death of Hans van der Grinten. And you could also embed the video here. I will just go in for a second because we know about the complicated history.
What sound?
Die systematischen Versuche der Verhinderung jeder Beuys-Aktivität hier und die Untergrabung unseres Ansehens in der Öffentlichkeit.
Wenn Sie jetzt vielleicht darauf anspielen, auf die ganz aktuelle Situation, auch die gerade eröffnete Ausstellung mit Fotografien zu Joseph Beuys, dokumentarischer Fotografie von Manfred Tischer betrifft, kann ich nur sagen, da geht es vor allem um die VG Bildkunst. Die VG Bildkunst hat versucht, die Ausstellungseröffnung heute zu verhindern.
Okay, I think that's enough. We just wanted to show that we could embed video here and that the collection has a history, and the point where the Moyland hanging was given up, and where we hope that next year for an enlarged presentation of the Van der Grinten collection, we can also show more on the internet like this. And now we come to our third timeline, which is kind of connected to this collection timeline, the Joseph Beuys timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is our third part of it, and it's important to know that these are not three separate things. When we would have a little bit more time and finish them all, we would create like one exhibition page, for example, with two timelines on it and this story in between. So you have the story of the castle that you can dig into, you have the story of Joseph Beuys you can dig into, and you have the story of Van der Grinten and how this stuff came here. So this is the, but just a resolution quickly. Go again. You wanna? Okay. And so this is the last one, more about some key elements in the life of Joseph Beuys, made by these two lovely people. And it works the same, but this time, because this man, the Schloss was not that relevant to add a map, because the Schloss kind of stayed on the same place. But Joseph Beuys traveled around, so you can also look at his adventures using the map. And you can see that he did some performances here, for example, that he crashed in the Crimea. So we add that for more of a spatial idea what he did. But as you can see, a large part of what he did is right around here. And that's it. So thanks.